Earlier this year, the Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders, SMMT, released figures that showed a whopping 25.7% of new cars sold in 2022 were gray. And a total of 68.6% were monochromatic, gray, black, white, or silver. Uncommon colors like orange and turquoise have seen a small resurgence, although they still only account for a tiny fraction of sales. Any superstitions around green being unlucky seem dead and buried. However, the seventh most popular color grew 74.2% year-on-year. I think I know why. You see, our Volvo XC40 Recharge was delivered in November, just before an extreme cold snap that had gritting lorries working overtime. Yet with family all over the country, I, along with my wife and daughter, racked up the best part of 1,200 miles in a few weeks over Christmas, only noticing when we returned home that the car looked almost as good as new. But studying the cars parked on my street, a sea of gray, black, white and silver SUVs, no less, it seemed the XC40 was one of only a handful not caked in festive filth. Some were so dirty you could barely make out the registration plates, while others looked like they'd been subjected to one of Land Rover's challenging off-road routes at Eastnor Castle. I put the Volvo's cleanliness down to one thing: its sage green paint. And 850 pounds extra at the point of order, it's now a no-cost option. It looks stunning, not least because it isn't gray, black, white or silver, but also because it does an incredible job of hiding the grime from hundreds of hard winter miles. The main image you see here was taken before I had the car cleaned, and the only telltale sign that our Volvo had been from London to Worcester, Hampshire and Devon was the lightly tainted plastic around the wheel arches and along the sills. Even as I write this, the pressure washer remains resolutely tucked up in the garden shed. One thing I have been using with increasing regularity, however, is the public charging network. The Volvo's efficiency has tumbled in the winter, and only on a few occasions have I seen more than 3 miles per kilowatt-hour. That means a real-world range of just 200 miles, plenty for most of my journeys, but the longer ones require a quick volt and bolt to reach my destination. Thankfully, I've had no issues plugging in. Every charger has worked faultlessly. I can't question the car's long-distance ability, however. On the 19-inch wheels of our Recharge Plus model, the ride is good, and there is very little noise at 70 miles per hour. The seats are super comfortable, too, and the 3-stage bum warmers and heated steering wheel sometimes feel hot enough to fry an egg. Volvo's tech offering has impressed as well, though I'd love to see it on a larger screen. The XC40's 9-inch unit looks small set into the dashboard, but the software is bang up to date. I'm an Apple CarPlay evangelist, but even I have appreciated the boons of our Volvo's Android-powered setup. Running Google Maps allows you to input a destination and see how much charge you'll have left when you arrive. If it thinks you'll be running low by the time you get there, it suggests stops en route. But a few frustrations remain. I mentioned the lack of rain-sensing wipers in my first report, and that's only become more annoying over the last couple of months. I seem to be constantly adjusting the speed or regularity of the wipers, something my last few fleet cars have done automatically. Seems a minor gripe, but with a busy work and family life, things like this can make a huge difference. I also resent the fact you can't adjust the regenerative braking system on the fly. The Volvo has a super intuitive one-pedal setup, but you need to delve into the infotainment menu to turn it on or off. Once you know where this is, it's a fairly straightforward process, but most EVs have a button or switch to allow you to perform this function without taking your eyes off the road. Some even give you a sliding strength scale, operated via paddles on the steering wheel. In general, however, it's easy to see why the Volvo XC40 is so popular. It's comfortable, easy to drive and practical, and it still looks great almost 5 years after it launched. Doubly so, I think, in slime disguising sage green. It seems electric SUVs are everywhere these days, or at least, they are in my part of suburban southwest London. Every corner I turn, I'm confronted by the gentle hum of a battery electric 4x4 or a green-plated crossover ferrying families from one end of the high street to the other. So it should come as no surprise that even before I was asked to return the keys to my old electric SUV, a BMW iX3, I found myself immediately eyeing up a similarly practical EV alternative. For the next 6 months or so, I'll be running this Volvo XC40 Recharge Plus. As is often the case at the moment, lead times on cars like these are lengthy. We placed the order for our XC40 way back in March 2022, and it only arrived at Endeavour Volvo in Chiswick late last year. We waited for it so long, in fact, that some fundamental changes have subsequently been made to the Volvo spec sheet. We opted for the less powerful single-motor XC40, whose 69 kWh battery feeds a 228 bhp motor on the front axle. However, Volvo has since confirmed the entry-level XC40 will switch to a more powerful rear-mounted layout to improve efficiency. Production of these versions starts later in 2023, but order the most basic XC40 now and that's the car you'll get. This, Endeavour's general sales manager Hanan Jendi tells me, will bump the Volvo's range from 262 miles, in our car, to an official maximum of 286 miles depending on wheel size and specification. The dual-motor versions of the XC40 also get faster 200 kilowatts charging, although single-motor models like ours are unaffected. That doesn't bother me too much. Our car's 150 kilowatts peak charging speed is quicker than most, including rivals like the Ford Mustang Mach-E, Volkswagen ID.4 and even the Jaguar I-Pace. In fact, aside from those based on an 800-volt architecture, such as the Hyundai Ioniq 5 and Kia EV6, little comes close for time-saving top-ups. So long as you can find a quick enough public charger, you'll not be left waiting for too long. A 10 to 80% charge is achievable in just 27 minutes. Another tweak to the kit list, Hanan tells us, is that Volvo's entire paint palette is now selectable free of charge, so the 850-pound sage green color on our car becomes a no-cost option. You'll still have to pay extra for the suede seat trim, but apart from a slightly different 19-inch wheel design, everything else remains as it was. That means, in Plus spec, you get a 9-inch portrait touchscreen running the latest Google infotainment software, as well as a 12.3-inch driver information display. There is also standard wireless phone charging, heated seats front and rear, a heated steering wheel and keyless entry and start. I particularly like the get in and go functionality of Volvo's setup. Just sit down, select your gear, and you're off. You also get automatic LED lights, but one thing I very much missed during the recent wet weather is a set of rain-sensing wipers. Seems it's one of those things you don't notice until it's gone. The same goes for forward-facing parking cameras, conspicuous here by their absence. Given that I have to park on the street day in, day out, I guess I use this kind of kit more often than I'd realized. Otherwise though, the XC40 is as smooth, quiet, and Volvo-like as you might expect. Hanan used to work for a German rival at a dealership nearby, and as much as she loved that brand's racier reputation, she too is coming round to the Swedish maker's more relaxed and safety-conscious image. The XC40 is quick enough for daily use, though I'll admit to rarely driving with any gusto. The shorter range versus my old 9.3 and colder temperatures mean I've been attempting to conserve as much energy as possible of late. In terms of space and versatility, often a Volvo strong point, I've found that while the XC40 isn't as big as the BMW, some useful underfloor storage, plus a decent space under the bonnet, means that I've not yet wished for a bigger boot. However, having a fixed parcel shelf rather than a retractable one isn't the most practical solution. I've had to leave it at home on a few occasions. But my biggest bugbear thus far is that in order to set up the Volvo Cars smartphone app, you need both of the car's key fobs. Because my XC40 was delivered with just one, and the second is currently lost in transit somewhere, I'm unable to access any of the car's remote functions or monitor things like charge status. As with the parking cameras and those automatic wipers, you always want what you can't have.